I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Boy, all that like Keenan. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still tryna fight my demons. Cause we all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside, it's a war going on. Make me put my hands on my head like the Macarena. They want you walking on board like Kima. Ain't give a F to you like John Cena. Putting blood on the brand new Beamer. Tryna earn 8 stripes like Adidas. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a keto. And expose to a cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque yo no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. They shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Y'all just talk, don't live it. And just took that route, that seen it. And I'm so outspoken like Reason. Jimmy Neutron, boy, young G's. And I'm a self-made man out of Sweden. And it's still off top, I'm tweaking. But I still gotta fight my demons.
Welcome in. Happy Friday, everybody. We've almost made it to the weekend. I'm your host, Ben Nasser. We are here to talk best bets, NFL DFS for conference championship weekend. And at the end of the stream, I'm going to preview tomorrow's college basketball games. I really like some spots tomorrow. I looked at it. I just saw that the lines were up right before I got on here, but early look, I think my biggest bet of the college basketball season thus far was last Saturday, Texas over Baylor, that won. It was a 3-unit play. And I might have a 3 or 4 unit play tomorrow. So maybe my biggest bet of the season tomorrow in college basketball. So we'll talk about it at the end of the stream. At the start here, we're going to go through, I have DraftKings pulled up. We're going to go through this 2-game conference championship game slate. And we can talk about some best bets as well. Hopefully you guys had a good night last night. We got absolutely banged last night by UMass Lowell. Really unfortunate. I would bet that spot every single time. They were playing horrible. They were playing horrible basketball in the second half. They had a decent lead going to halftime, played horrible basketball in the second half, and they still fought their way back, down 5 with like a minute and 10 seconds left, fought their way back and forced overtime. If you weren't watching the game, they got a stop at the end of regulation. There was about 8 seconds on the clock. Lad, what's up? There's like 8 seconds left on the clock, and they're streaking down the court. And just so wide, DeJuan, what's up? Wide open lane to the basket to win the game, and their idiot coach called a timeout. And there was 3 seconds on the clock when he called timeout, and then they ran some god-awful set coming out of the timeout. And I knew they were gonna lose in overtime. When it went to overtime, I just didn't have a good feeling. I should have honestly hedged because they were minus 140 going into OT. I should have hedged and took Vermont. I knew they were going to lose that in overtime. Just super unfortunate, but I would play that spot 9 out of 10. I thought Coulibaly would play more. He got into foul trouble and he only played like 10 minutes. I think that was a big factor. So yeah, unfortunate, but hey, it happens. Tomorrow's slate looks really good, and like I said, biggest bet of the college basketball season I might have tomorrow. So we'll talk about it at the end. Let's dive in here. We'll talk DFS first, and then we will talk bets after that. So 2 games here on the slate, obviously, KC and Baltimore, and Detroit and San Francisco. So overall, my reads for these games has kind of been the same all week. I think that I'm the biggest proponent of you never bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Like, there's just no reason to. But Sean, what's up? I think that the Ravens are going to win this football game for sure. And it's not Mahomes' fault. I think the Ravens are just a better team. Mahomes could go out and do Mahomes things and somehow win them a game, but I think the Ravens are going to win this game. Appreciate the 3-ball picks. Yeah, Sean, honestly, golf's been really good to us. Today's not looking too hot. Keegan Bradley, I'm a big Keegan Bradley guy. He doesn't look like he wants to play golf today, but it's early. Things can change. I'll check again later, but he was 2 over, so that's not looking too good today. But overall, golf's been really good to us. Really good. I'm in a good place with golf. My process feels really good, so I'm excited. Like, these are, like, really small tournaments. Like, we're not even into, like, the full fields and stuff yet, so really excited for that to get rolling here soon. Tristan, what's up? But I think the Ravens are going to win this football game, and I'm still sticking with I think the Niners are going to handle the Detroit Lions. So that's my reads on the game. I'm going to stick with that. I don't care if Debo plays. We've talked about this all week. I don't know if I think Debo's going to play, but if he's out, I might wait to bet the 49ers, because if he's out, I could see that line maybe move a little bit. So I might wait to bet on the 49ers, but I don't know if it makes a difference. If you look at last season, when the hot stat going around is the 49ers were 0-3 without Debo this year. That doesn't tell the full story, because Trent Williams also missed those games. If you look at last season, Trent Williams played while Debo was out, and the 49ers still averaged over 30 points per game. So I don't think it's that big of a factor for Debo being out as the media is making it seem. I think that those stats are skewed because the best left tackle in football was also out for those games. So I just don't see. I think the Lions will be able to score, even though they haven't been good. They haven't been as good on the road as they've been at home, but I don't see how they have any hope of stopping this offense. They got shredded by Tampa's offense, absolutely destroyed, outgained in yards, gave up 350 to Baker Mayfield. Brock Purdy should have a day against this Lions secondary. So that's my read on the games. Starting off at quarterback, we only have 4 quarterbacks to pick from. Lamar is the highest price at 77. Then you have Mahomes, Purdy, and Jared Goff. So I think if you're going to try and play cash games on this slate, you would obviously want to focus on Lamar Jackson here. Coming off just a huge game against the Texans, 39 DraftKings points, and he had 39 in his game before that in Week 17 against the Dolphins. So he's coming off back-to-back 39-point games. He's hitting his stride at the exact right time when you want to. He's playing his best football of his career, and this is going to be his chance to finally get to the Super Bowl. So if you're playing any sort of cash game or head-to-head, I think that you want to focus on Lamar Jackson in your quarterback spot. If you're playing tournaments, obviously Mahomes is fine, but for me personally, Brock Purdy would be my second favorite option on the slate. He's had a rough couple games here at Washington and then against Green Bay, but we talked about this last week. Green Bay, when they've been fully healthy defensively, Debo will play. Correct? How about Andre? Debo is going to play, I think, Tony. I can't be sure, but I do think he will play. When you look at Green Bay, when they've been fully healthy defensively this season, in terms of their secondary, they've been really, really tough to throw on. Like, with Jair Alexander in this season and some of their other DBs all fully healthy, they graded out like really, really well in the secondary and against the pass. So, and we've kind of seen this has been a trend. The way to attack Green Bay was to run on them, and that's why Dallas lost. Was all season Dallas's running game has just really struggled, and they weren't able to get that going. And they just got down so quickly in that game. I mean, it was 27-0, like in the blink of an eye. But San Fran was just carving them up on the ground. I don't think San Fran ran the ball enough in that game, and that's why the game was close. But that wasn't a game really for Brock Purdy, I don't think. This is going to be a game for Brock Purdy. The Lions are the inverse of the Green Bay Packers. They're tough to run on and easier to throw on. Their secondary, especially in the middle of the field, has been getting carved up. So I think, and obviously that's where Shanahan wants to attack you is over the middle of the field. And in terms of yards after the catch. So this is a Brock Purdy spot for me. I haven't found a ton of props I like for this week, but I'm definitely interested in Brock Purdy stuff this week. Like over 1.5 passing touchdowns, pass attempts over. You could do a 300 yard maybe. I don't know what his line is, but if you can get decent odds at 300 plus, I would be interested. But over 1.5 passing touchdowns, I like definitely. So I do think it's a Brock Purdy spot this week. So if you're not playing Lamar, I think Purdy's my favorite option. Goff struggled on the road, for his whole career. So he's definitely my least favorite option on this slate. I'm never going to blame you if you want to play Mahomes, but it's Lamar or Purdy for me at quarterback this week. Moving on to running back. I mean, we have McCaffrey projected for 80% owned on a 2-game slate. That's probably too little. He should definitely be the highest owned option overall on the slate of all players. Pacheco is going to play, so you have him at 60. Like outside of McCaffrey at 9K, you have Pacheco, Gibbs, Monty, all in this, and Edwards, all between 55 and 6,500. And then you have Justice Hill down at 48. I'm a little bit interested in Justice Hill here just because of what he can do catching the ball. He's had, if you look at his receptions here, the last 4 games, 3, 5, 3, and 2. They run those little wheel routes for him quite often. And I think he just missed one against Houston. So that would have been another added bonus onto his receiving total here. But they run those little wheel routes for him, and usually he catches them, and he can get down the sideline quick. So I kind of like Justice Hill at 48. Wouldn't hate, pairing McCaffrey with Hill and just avoiding this mid-tier at running back. I don't particularly think it's a good matchup for the Detroit guys. Like if they get down, don't know if I love that. And then Pacheco, it's Pacheco. He's a good play. He's been really, really good. But I don't hate McCaffrey and Justice Hill pairing them together, and then I could focus maybe on the upper tier of receiver and tight end more so than running back. I think that's fine. But Justice Hill definitely sticks out to me. Met Mark Andrews, sorry. Yeah, Mark Andrews is in, and Debo, I don't know. But they activated Andrews today, and they said he would play. I don't know. I don't know if we can tell yet, just because he's missed a good amount of time here. But obviously, I think that does definitely negatively affect Isaiah Likely. Likely's 4,300 on the slate. I don't see how I could play him. So I think that takes him out of the fold. It definitely affects the Ravens pass catchers as a whole, because Andrews historically obviously that's Lamar's guy. So it does kind of have repercussions across the entire target tree, because you would assume they've held him out this long. So the fact that he's going to play this week tells me that he's probably pretty close to a full go, because they didn't play him last week. So there would be just no reason for them to play him if they were really worried about, his health. So I think he'll be pretty close to a full go here. He was and then if you look back to last week, like he was practicing, like we thought he was going to play last week. He was practicing in full. So two weeks of practicing in full, I think he should be good. Harbaugh is merely stating the obvious that Andrews is being activated to play and not just as a decoy distraction. I mean, obviously they wouldn't say one way or the other, but like I said, he's been practicing in full for 2 weeks. I don't see why they would play him if he wasn't a full go. So definitely think that affects the Ravens passing game. I'm interested in him at 5K for sure. I think Kittle will be the highest on option there, but I'll save that for when we get to tight end. Overall, I like Justice Hill at 4,800 for sure. All these guys in the mid tier here, they're fine. I would prefer Justice Hill at 48 to Gus Edwards at 55 personally. And any of these guys here are fine, but I just don't none of them stick out to where I love them really. At wide receiver, we have St. Brown at the top, 79, Debo 73, Ayuk 69, Rashid Rice 65. All those guys are above 6K. And then we just have one guy in the 5K tier, and that's Zay Flowers at 5,800. So obviously, like whether or not Debo plays is going to have a big implication on the ownership, but both at wide receiver and tight end, because obviously if he was out, then George Kittle would be an even better play than he already is. So we'll have to wait and see on this Debo news. Like I said, as of now, I think he's going to play or at least be active. If he weren't, then you obviously have Jaywan Jennings at 4,600. You could even mess around. Like they have some cheaper guys down there, but Jennings at 46 and Kittle would be the bigger beneficiaries, I think, should Debo Samuel miss. But obviously that's going to affect ownership more than anything. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'll also say if Debo were out, like I like Brandon Ayuk as it is, he would become probably a must play for me if Debo Samuel were out. So we'll see what happens on the weekend whenever we get that news. But I'm already interested in Ayuk, so I'll just segue to him. St. Brown, I think, is fine. He's less of a priority to me, though, than he was last week, just because they're on the road and it's a little bit of a tougher matchup. Ayuk has not had a big game in at least a couple weeks, right? So he went off against Washington. Last two games, both playoff games, or Week 18. Week 18 doesn't really count because they were resting guys. Last week's game, 3 for 32. Didn't only 6 points. I think that I think he's set up for a really big spot here. Like I said, I think that how you want to attack Detroit obviously is passing the ball. He feels due for a big game, in my opinion. I don't think that Detroit has anybody that's going to be able to match up with him. So I think Ayuk at 6,900 is a really, really good play this week. Really like him. I'd be interested in his overs, him to score a touchdown. I'm definitely going to be considering that over the weekend. Rice, I mean, you can't go wrong. Baltimore, good secondary, but he's clearly their number one option. I prefer Ayuk to him for 400 more, but Rashee Rice will probably be a fairly popular play on a 2-game slate, I would assume. Moving down, I'm fine skipping Zay Flowers at 5,800. If you want to play a Ravens guy with Lamar, I would just go ahead and play Andrews for $800 less than Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers at 5,800 is a skip for me on this slate. Ayuk and Rice are really the two guys I want to focus on at the upper tier. Moving down further, like I said, Jennings, if Debo were out, would come more into play at 4,600. You have Jameson Williams at 3,700. I'm going to assume, I think Jameson Williams is going to be the highest owned player on this slate outside of Christian McCaffrey, just because we're down to 2 games and there's less value to go around. He's been having this increased role for quite some time. He's not having any big games here, like 9, 9, 3, 5. But he's getting a handful of targets every game, and he's only 3,700. And you would assume, based on the touchdown spread here, that Detroit's going to have to throw the ball because they're probably going to be trailing in this game. So both Jameson Williams and Josh Reynolds here at 4K, I think will be the popular cheap options. He practiced limited on Thursday. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. If for some reason Josh Reynolds was out, then you would have to play Jameson Williams. I think as of now, you can kind of pick and choose which one you want. Between them, those two, and then you have like Aguilar, Bateman. Bateman, I think, is interesting at 36, honestly, as a pivot to the Detroit guys for less ownership. And then you have these Chiefs guys down here as well. So I think you can kind of pick and choose right now, even Aguilar in there. Odell has not had the role that I thought he would coming into the playoffs. So that's an avoid for me. I'd rather play Nelson Aguilar, even though he didn't do much other than that touchdown last week. But if Josh Reynolds for some reason were out, then yeah, Jameson Williams is going to be massively owned. But I think it's going to be massively owned anyway. So not a ton of cheapies there. If Reynolds is in, I prefer him to Williams if he's lower owned. So I'll just say that. So that's how I'm going to play it. If Reynolds is out, you probably have to play Jameson Williams. If they're both in, I prefer Reynolds to Jameson Williams if the final ownership has them at Reynolds being lower owned. I think Reynolds is just a better player at this point. And despite them trying to get Jameson Williams the ball, I do think end of day, I think they trust him a little bit more. So if Reynolds is in, I like him as my favorite cheapie. If he's out, Jameson Williams is already going to be chalky. So that's kind of how I'm playing there. But Ayuk is really the big focus for me this week. I think he's a really, really good play. I think he's scoring a touchdown this week. At tight end, we have Kelsey. Finally had a big game, 24.5 DK, 2 touchdowns. Have him up there at 66. Sam Laporta, George Kittle, Mark Andrews. That's really the tight end pool here. Zach Ertz, I'm not buying. He's going to be involved even if he's active for this game. Like he just signed with the team. So you have to actually play like an expensive tight end this week because there's just we don't have a guy like a K-Dot or something hanging around. I guess if you really wanted to, you could consider Noah Gray here at 2,500. He's had 3 and 4 DraftKings points the last 2 weeks, 3 targets against the Bills. He was like decently involved early in the game. If you played a $2,500 tight end on a 2-game slate and he got you 4.6, probably wouldn't even be too mad about it. Like there's a world where none of these tight ends even score a touchdown, and 4.6 is like completely fine. I'm feeling an Aguilar touchdown this week. Mac, what's up? Cutback Mac. Your name on YouTube is Cutback Mac. I love that. I'm sick of this Mac moneyline shit. Get that out of here. But yeah, so you have to play an expensive tight end this week. I like Andrews the most, which I said. Kittle, if Debo's out, gonna be massively owned. And we hit Kittle first touchdown last week. I mean, I was on Kittle, but I think I prefer Andrews the most of all these guys just because he's the cheapest. Laporta, you could sign me up for. Kelsey, I think, is the one I'll probably avoid. Just because he's 6,600. Like I really liked Kelsey on that last game, but I would rather play Rice than Kelsey, I think, this week. But maybe my opinion on that changes by the time I build my teams. But overall, Andrews for me is my favorite. So we can build out a little lineup here. Let's see. Let's do a Brock Purdy team just because I liked the savings. Put McCaffrey, put Justice Hill in there, put Ayuk in there. You can put Josh Reynolds in. Defense. Put the Niners D in. All right, so that gives you 53 per. So I mean, you can find one of those other cheaper guys. You could 2 tight end is in play for me this week. What if we did Kelsey and Andrews? 4K. I mean, you could just play both cheap Lions guys. I don't hate that. Or you could play Kittle and Andrews. That's 53. I mean, it really doesn't give you any increase. So I think maybe I actually will have Kelsey in my team the more I'm looking at this. So Kelsey, you can play both cheap Lions guys. I don't hate this type of build. And that actually gives you the money if you wanted to just not even play Mark Andrews. Like you could play Kittle to do the Purdy double. Don't hate this. And I actually don't hate this only having one Baltimore guy because Baltimore's pretty spread around offensively and Lamar takes so much of it. So, I mean, especially like given how Lamar played last week, like there's a decent chance that Lamar does most of the damage for the Ravens in terms of their scoring output. So I don't hate this kind of soft Ravens fade team. And then you get the double in there with Purdy. This is actually like a decent team, I think. So I don't know. I'll look at more stuff. Obviously, I'll have teams up for subscribers. I'll change my Twitter when I feel like, yeah. Oh yeah, I hate how they do that too, Mac. Whenever you change I think my internet's lagging. Hopefully it's fine. But I think they do that when you change your picture too, which is annoying. Like the fact that we pay for that and then they take that away like for 3 days is just so stupid. I'll look at early ownership here before we go on to college basketball. Let me pull up our ownership on my phone and I'll give that out here. All right, so early ownership for the 2-game DFS slate. We have Christian McCaffrey at around 80% highest on play on the slate. George Kittle's up there, second highest owned. I think that's assuming Debo's not going to play. Then you have Jameson Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice, Pacheco, Brock Purdy, Josh Reynolds, Justice Hill. Surprised Brock Purdy's popping for more ownership than Lamar. Obviously, I guess the price has to do with that, but I still would think I would want Lamar if I was playing cash or head-to-heads. But that team I just built, especially if Debo's out, looks pretty good to me. That's probably along the lines of my lineup this week. All right, so let's dive into college basketball. I don't have our website pulled up because I'm an idiot. I can, however, switch. I'm going to pull up FanDuel. We can at least look at the lines. I don't really like anything tonight. I said in the Discord last night that I was not going to take anything on college basketball tonight. because I just don't love anything. So I have the lines pulled up here. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. You guys can see it better. All right. I just clicked a game by accident. All right. So tonight, it's a lot of just meh games, to be honest with you guys. There's one decent game, Michigan State, Wisconsin. Overall lean for me tonight would be I do lean Michigan State, but I'm not taking anything in this game. But you guys can do what you want. I might put one play out because I kind of like, I was looking earlier. I mean, if you just love pain, what happened to you muscle? Yeah, Sean. So I talked about it at the top here, but just so bad. They were down. First of all, they were winning at halftime. They played just horrible basketball in the second half. They were shooting 6 of 16 in the second half at one point. They just weren't playing very well. And they were down 5 points with like a minute and 10 seconds left. They ended up coming back. They tie the game. They get a miss with 9 seconds left. They're breaking down the court, fast break. And then they had an open lane to the basket, and their coach called a timeout for some reason. And then they ran some dog shit set out of the timeout and missed. And I knew they were going to lose once it went to overtime. Like, it was just so unfortunate. But yeah, it happens. So tonight, I don't really have anything. Lean towards Michigan State. One thing I considered was going back to St. Bonaventure after there's the max pain that they caused us the other night. But they're not going to shoot that poorly again at home. They should have their best player back. He missed their last game as well, and there was rumors that it was disciplinary. So I think he should be back. So maybe taking their money line and pairing it with the Orlando Magic in the NBA. They're 6-point favorites on the road against Memphis Grizzlies. If you haven't been following this NBA season, the Memphis Grizzlies, for whatever reason, are horrible at home this year. They have been absolutely terrible at home. Orlando's kind of hitting their stride here. They're getting back. They're getting healthy, and they're going to make a push into the playoffs here down the stretch of the season, in my opinion. I actually like this Magic team a lot, and I'm definitely willing to fade Memphis given how they've played at home. So St. Bonaventure, Orlando, 2-leg parlay plus 137. I might put that in. We'll see. And then I lean towards Michigan State in this big game, but I'm probably not going to bet either side. I'm just going to watch the game. For tomorrow, though, I told you guys, I'm going to have a huge bet tomorrow, probably my biggest bet of the season. And it's a night game, and it's right down here. Ohio State, Northwestern, at Northwestern. If you guys follow this stream, you follow me, my content, all this stuff, you know I've been talking about this for 2 weeks. Fade Ohio State on the road. They lost their last 9 road games last season to close the year. They have not won a road game this year. They have not won a road game. They're absolutely horrible on the road. Their defense falls off a cliff on the road. They give up 6 or 7 more points per 100 possessions on the road this year. They're just not a good road team, and they haven't been a good road team under Chris Holtmann. So you're getting a team that's absolutely horrible on the road going into Northwestern for a Saturday night game. Those kids are going to be rowdy. They're going to be drinking all day. Northwestern's been very good at home. They're coming off a couple big home wins, and they have my favorite player of all time, who is Boo Buie, and they're only minus 134. So Northwestern tomorrow for me is going to be last Saturday we had a 3-unit on Baylor, we had a 3-unit on Texas against Baylor. This is going to be a 3 to 4 unit, I think, for me tomorrow. Northwestern, you can just take them on the money line if you take it now. If I had to guess, this is going to close minus 145, minus 150. It's minus 134 right now. So really, really like Northwestern tomorrow. It's going to be my favorite play on the slate. It's going to be my biggest bet of the last few weeks, probably. Other spots that stick out to me for tomorrow. I like Maryland at home here against Nebraska. Nebraska, another team that's really good at home, and they struggle on the road. Maryland, they've been up and down streaky this year, but I'm willing to back them here at home on the money line probably. So I'll be looking to pair them up with something. Georgetown, Providence. This is a really fun game, but that's a big spread. I don't think I can lay that. Kansas, Iowa State. Iowa State is minus 156 at home against Kansas. I would probably lean towards Iowa State. Maybe you could pair them up with Maryland or something. Texas Tech, Oklahoma is a fun game. I'll have to look into that one. Definitely like Illinois at home here against Indiana. Indiana's not good, and Illinois has obviously they got Terrence Shannon back. It's minus 1,200 though, just not good. So I don't know. Maybe I won't be betting that. Baylor at home against TCU. Good game. No lean there right now. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas, Minnesota, Penn State. Cincy at home against UCF looks good to me. Like you could do something like this maybe. Maryland, Cincy. Alabama should roll LSU at home. Yeah, Northwestern far and away my favorite spot tomorrow. So that's going to be like a 3-unit, I think, for me. I might just pair Maryland up with like some big favorites, maybe like Houston at home against Kansas State. And let's see here. Illinois, put them in there. Yeah, that gets it at a -120. That's a little bit more palatable for me. So I'll probably put this in. But Northwestern on the money line is going to be my big play tomorrow. And if you want to tail on that, I would grab that soon. I guarantee that moves to like -140, -150 tomorrow. There's just no way it doesn't. I don't see how it doesn't. Ohio State is so bad on the road. Overall, thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you have any further questions or anything, you can reach out to me in the Discord. You can hit me on Twitter. DFS core plays will be up for subscribers tomorrow. You can still sign up if you want to tail along for that. Plus Super Bowl showdown contests. If you want to sign up for the betting tools, betcomer.com/pricing. Good luck with your wagers tonight. I'll be locked in tomorrow. And I'll see you guys on Monday.